we're all looking at the same thing, we're just looking at it differently. And so I think if you look at the city of Susanville with a different perspective, you start to see it maybe the way that we've been looking at it, in terms of economic development, in terms of not failing, in terms of all the amazing features that we have, that allow us to recognize that this city is worth saving and worth fighting for and worth doing something above and beyond, worth making money so that we can invest it into our city, into our community, and then reinvest it into our community. And so what's really neat about this and about economic development is that so many people all have their own ideas on how we should manage this department and what we should focus on, what our priorities should be. Everybody keeps coming to us with, well, if you try this, if you try that, if you try this, and the good news about that is that it means that people actually care. People have something to say and they're sharing their ideas, so they want to be involved in as much as saying, hey, we want this to succeed. So that also makes it challenging because you have a lot of different input from a lot of different people. And that's important because there is no one way to do economic development. And if there were, every city would be healthy. So there's a lot of different ways to take this feedback into consideration. Every plan or every strategy is unique to its location. And in Susanville, we have our own opportunities and our own challenges, and we need to own them as Susanville. And that's kind of awesome because we have the video, you're totally right, Pat. Other than the campsites along our river, that was just so cool, a little drone flying over the river. I loved every second of that. So what do we need to do? We need to solve our problems. We're talking about them, we are implementing, we're coming up with ordinances, and we're getting feedback, and we're listening to everybody. We need to preserve the past. There are so many qualities of this city that make this one of the better places on the entire planet, and we need to influence our future. And the way we do that is by connecting and uniting the community. So we have laid some really good groundwork. This is a slide of a bunch of different reports that have been compiled since as early back as 1990. Some of them are from the county, some of them are from the city, and they're goals and ideas, and we have a lot of them. And that's our box. So I've gone through those, and they're magnificent. So I think it's important to remember that some of this work has already been done. What's different now? So what's different now than before? Well, number one, for I think the first time, and Councilmember Wilson pointed to this when you brought up Buxton and we had Lisa present actually spending money. We've never invested in economic development. We have a council that's supportive of economic development. And now we have a team that's focused on economic development, where it is our job to pay attention to how we can bring money into the city. And so the other thing is that to save our city, we actually get to implement the plan. So we have 1,000 different ideas, and many of them actually have been regurgitated over time because they're good ideas and they make sense. But now we get to implement it. And we've created something that we also haven't had before. We're developing what I'm calling a living document. And that's because it constantly changes based on the feedback that we receive, based on discussions. I know a lot of conversations take place in the city, and everybody's input is very, very, very valuable. The title here is Economic Development Implementation Plan. And so for the first time, we actually have an implementation plan. That's a step 1, followed by a step 2, followed by a step 3. And that's important because without that, you have a bunch of ideas. This may be the most riveting portion of the economic development presentation. Actually, all it's really saying is we're not reinventing the wheel. We're tailoring it towards the current needs of Susanville in our time. We're taking all of these and we're tailoring those ideas to our current needs. Okay, one of the first steps in our plan is to encourage private and public partnerships. There are so many different groups and organizations and people that live here. The city needs to be working and partnering with every single one of these groups. So we realized we don't 100% know what everybody who lives in the city wants us to focus on. So we sent out a survey, and it's been awesome. We send out invoices to people for their water bill or their gas bills, and in those is an opportunity to actually ask questions. And so we have been getting feedback and responses from all sorts of people saying this is what we think the city should focus on. What's really great news is that number one, by a landslide, and there's not even a close second or a third, is economic development. And that's really cool that the community is actually saying, hey, we want you to focus on economic development. Bring money in, invest into the community, do whatever it is we got to do. The good news is we're going to do it, and we bring that back to council so you can say these are what we think will be best for our community. This is the nutshell. This is the nutshell of the plan kind of broken down. I'm not going to explain too much of it right now, other than there are these 5 elements: promote public trust, bring jobs, attract businesses, invite people to move here, attract people to visit. And that takes almost everything that's been in those strategies from the past, along with taking in information from our current situation. And then we also have these 2 boxes in the center, which is part of our plan, partly step 1 and step 2, which is defining the parameters of which we have to work within. A lot of that information is in those reports, but identifying opportunities, the hurdles, measurements and metrics, stats and projections, and so on. The other is marketing. Susanville really has a huge opportunity to market all of its features and all of its amazing qualities and the wonderful things that the community has put together. So marketing in so many different ways. We finally have a Facebook, what's enabled us to communicate. It's so fun because we started off with nobody really knew we had a social media presence, and they hit the like button. We have, Mike's going to go ahead and play with some of these. So we did social media, and our public works, our fire department, our police department has marketing material that actually has the City of Susanville name on it. So we have these little toys. He's passing out, and I don't know, we have Frisbees. They're pretty cool. I'm just going to throw it out there, so hopefully I don't hurt anybody. Okay, so
She caught it with one hand.
we even have a bear. It doesn't say City of Susanville, but it's cool.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
Look on his back.
oh, hey, fire department. Got to go to the fire chief for that one. So marketing. We're beginning to market, and thank you everybody for bringing the marketing material that you have already, just to show that this is a step in a direction that we think is right. We have one of the best kept secrets in the entire world, and what we do with it is kind of up to us, up to this community, but we know we don't want to let it die, and we know that it's worth saving. So that's step 1 and 2, which we're already doing. Things like sending out the survey, things like defining the parameters, things like hiring Buxton, like Mike talked about, things like reading all these things, like catching up and talking to the community. Almost everybody in this room, our team has met with on some level, and staff, and talked about what is important to you. So now just a couple things to highlight. We've had some successes. We've actually successfully checked off a few of the things on these lists, which is pretty cool. We've got a pool, we've got some people picking up bottles and cans and litter, we've got a community garden over there. We have, this one's really cool, a symphony on the greens. Did I say that? Right, it's just a bunch of people listening to some really awesome music, and it's beautiful, and I love it. We have sunrises in Susanville, so radical. Sunsets, I think that's a sunrise though, right? We have sunsets too that are, either way, it's just neat. So, okay, Fruit Growers Park project taking place right now. We have a brand new basketball court, and we have new stadium lighting. And today we have a brand new south side restroom that was dropped in off a crane. So now you can, utilize both sides of the park. And so, what else do we have? The loading. We have a brand new Susanville disc golf course, Skyline disc golf course among Skyline Park. And we have 18 holes. Volunteers are working right now implementing this. The volunteers are doing 99% of the work. They're building their tee pads, pouring the concrete. It's been a lot of fun. We have the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds are so cool because we get to bring in outside people to entertain us, a place to sit down and just chill out and listen to music or watch the races or a rodeo or the Bluegrass Festival or just go enjoy the fair, which is one of the coolest things ever, and it gets a lot of people here. So we've got a lot of these things already. We also have the community garden, the Little League field, and the river. So cool. The community garden is something that the council supported a couple of years ago, got off the ground, the community has come together, and now we have so much produce out here. Some people are even, I think, considering selling it at the farmer's market, which is another amazing feature. This garden is fun to walk by. I loved when Chief referenced it as just the garden earlier, because it's a new thing that was born from the community, from council support in recent time. And it's not one place where everybody goes on Saturday. It's a bunch of little places where everybody can actually go for a little bit. And so Susanville provides that. I definitely don't agree with Susanville being a place that there's nothing to do. And sometimes I think there's too much to do. But I absolutely love it here. And we are going to kick butt for everybody. So going back to our elements, promote public trust. This one is so important, that we are transparent with everybody, that we share our information, that we get feedback, that we include the community. We become an all-inclusive local government, involving everybody. Another feature that we talked about, this tax measure. So economic development includes everything, and if a tax measure is going to be passed so that we can create a restricted fund for public safety, that also seems like that's part of economic development. Now, how much money that brings in and what we can actually do with it, either way, they go hand in hand. If that's going to pass, and that seems like a pretty great opportunity to up our public safety, to make it a safer place, because people love being safe. They just do. Well, the higher level of public trust we have, then the better the city and the community can communicate. And when we're voting on something, we're voting on it because we believe in it. We're voting on it because we agree with it, and we're aware of it, and we're educated. So promoting public trust is incredibly important. It's a way for us to communicate effectively with everybody who lives here, everybody that has a say in our future. When we talk about promoting public trust, it's not so easy. Remember when I said that it's a little bit of everybody's feedback, a little bit, everybody has something to say? And it's not so simple as just saying, okay, well, you do A, then B, then C. We really have to listen to all these different things that people are saying, and then we put them on the whiteboards, and we consider that when we're developing our strategy and our plan and figuring out what step 4 is after we've accomplished step 3. We're taking all those things into consideration. This is really just to illustrate that I like drawing on the whiteboard. We want to bring in jobs. We have prisons in this town that bring people here to work and live and enjoy life. And why not include as many of them in our community as possible, and actually say, hey, you live here, you work here, you're part of our community. That we have the BLM, we have the Forest Service, we have the city of Susanville, we have Lassen County. We also have these other jobs that create, or entities actually that create jobs. And the cool thing about them, and why we can focus on even bringing in more, like research institutes and such, is that they don't require customers to keep the doors open. It's outside money, and then it gives people the means to move here, and then we create customers for our businesses. So bringing jobs, that kind of jobs, those are very important. And again, just another slide to say, well, if we do this, then that. And if we do that, then this. It's kind of a big algorithm, if this, then that, but applicable to every situation. And you have to keep your eyes and ears open, because everybody's saying something different. And every single time, Debbie and I had an awesome conversation the other day where, yeah, but if you do this won't work. But if you do this, maybe it will. And so we came together and we decided that there are options to accomplish most of the challenges that we have and turn them into opportunities.